Hey, what up, party people? Conduit here, and a lot has been happening in the Suzerain universe, and I just kind of want to talk about it, from the upcoming DLC Rizia and the new game The Conformist coming out hopefully sometime soon. I just want to talk about it. So, if you're like me, you've probably been replaying Suzerain, getting ready for the DLC, which your base game will affect the experiences of. I've been enjoying it a lot. I think the new 2.0 version of the game adds a lot to the game. I mean, you get more depth with a lot of characters like Sol and Alfonso, and I think Alfonso really needed it. And I also like how they add some more stuff about the bloodish question. I mean, I really think it just adds a lot. I like how there's more to do. I like the new Gasm additions. I definitely think it makes the game world feel a lot more alive. And then I enjoy the new lore additions. I know a lot of people didn't. I know that people thought that turning Arcasia into sort of Ancapistan Light is laughable and not realistic. But I don't find that any more ridiculous than the super communist and socialist nations being super successful. Like, there's a news article in the game about how collectivized farming has increased crop yields, even though in real life it was almost the exact opposite. I'll include a source for that in the description. I'm not here to talk about politics, but I love exploring more out there ideologies and how they would function in real life. I don't know why people want to play an alternate universe political game and then want it to be like super realistic and follow our world's political paths more closely. I don't really get that. I like all the new lore additions. I want more wacky out there ideologies. But anyway, let's get into the Rizia DLC, which I'm very excited for. Supposedly it's only going to be $10, which I think is more than fair. I think playing through a different system of government will be very exciting. No more trying to push bills through Parliament. You just get to sign edicts. I'm not sure how they're going to handle the player's ideology as much because in Suzerain you can play essentially any ideology. Like, I'm not sure if there's going to be a communist path when you play as the king of a country, but I don't know. I love the new edition of Warfare. I understand that in the original game, there really wouldn't be much of a need to have an in-depth war mechanic since it only really comes up at the end and in certain paths. But I think it'll be a lot of fun to lead your armies into victory and how that affects basically your economy and everything else. Like, how is raising units going to affect your economy? How is losing them going to affect your nation's people and morale? I don't know. I think it'll be very interesting to see how the studio takes that. I also think it's going to be cool to see a kind of different side of Rumberg, just because in the base game, I mean, they're the villains. There really is no characterization of them other than Queen Beatrice, who is a total fucking bitch. But, I mean, that's kind of the point, She wants to take over your country. She's not going to be nice to you. I think it'll be very cool to see them from a different point of view since you're going to be allied with them. I think the edicts is going to be really cool because in Suzerain, you really only have one opportunity to use executive orders, even though technically the president has the authority to do them whenever, even if you decide to kind of stifle them in your constitutional reforms. So I think it's going to be cool to see how being able to sign orders affecting the nation whenever will affect the gameplay. They also mentioned in the Steam description that this is going to be Suzerain's first DLC, so I think that points towards more DLCs being in the work, which I think is smart because I have no clue how a sequel will work if they ever make another one. Because I guess one, there is no canon Anton reign. Are they just going to decide like which playthrough's canon and decide to sort of develop the world on that? Or they could just go into the past, but even then, a lot of the world is already established. I guess you could go like really far back in time, but I'm not sure what they could really do because there's not going to be able to be like territory movements on the map and stuff. And then I also think Suzerain works perfectly because Sordland can be pushed into any ideology. Other countries are much more realistically going to be much more set in their ways. If you play as a communist nation, you're not going to be able to, show the power of the free market and vice versa. But getting into the new game that they're developing, called The Conformist, which is set in a post-Civil War era Sordland, And I think it looks pretty cool. You know, you're going to get to play as a propagandist who has to balance between the demands of his superiors and what he believes in. There's going to be multiple paths. You can support the USP, the main political party in power. You can support the rebels. I think it'll be very interesting, a lot more espionage focused. I think the visuals that they've shown so far look great, very stylized. And I'm always a fan of stylized graphics. And I also think it'll be interesting to see how the studio's first non-text based game kind of works out. Obviously, it still is going to be dialogue heavy, but it'll be interesting to actually get to walk around the city and see what you get to read about so many times in the base game. I think it's going to be really good. That is a bit premature of me to say. We haven't seen much of it, but I mean, I trust this company completely. So that's really all I wanted to talk about, just all the new stuff happening in the Suzerain universe. I think it's a really exciting time to be a fan of the company. So that's all I have to say. Goodbye, and remember, Jesus loves you.